Dusenberry's relative income hypothesis. First thing to note is that this model fundamentally is very different from the three models that we have just studied. Okay, this model doesn't come in the same line of reasoning that the three models followed. All right, so this is a separate model, and the task that we continue doing is connecting the new model to the old one is not possible here. Okay. Now, in Dusenberry's structure, there are two hypotheses. And just to mention, remember that when hypothesis is plural, I write E here, okay? This is singular, so I, and this is plural, so E. So two hypotheses. We will work on the first one first, and obviously then the second. Okay, so number one is that the utility function that we are going to write here is structurally different from all the others that we have just written. So U equal to E of C naught by R naught, C1 by R1, and then at the end CT by RT. So what does it say in English? It says that utility depends on not absolute but relative income. So that's why this name relative income hypothesis comes, okay? And that's why instead of writing C0 C1 to CT, we have written ratios C0 by R0, C1 by R1, which gives the idea of relative income. So this ratio gives us the idea of relative income, okay? So now what is R then? What is R? R is the weighted average. The definition of R comes very naturally. The weighted average of rest of the population. Not rest of the, I'll not say rest of because that will be wrong. Weighted average of the consumption of the population. So weighted average of consumption of the population. Now here, obviously, while writing, we always, we may say national average or something, but this is not what Dusenberry actually means. See, when I'm considering someone's income, I'm considering a group whose income is very close to him. For example, when I'm considering the relative income, say, for example, a very, say, a rickshaw puller or something, or a helper of a bus or something, okay, then the weighted average of consumption doesn't include an industrialist, okay? So we are considering this average of consumption in a very homogeneous kind of a group. But even in that homogeneous group, obviously, the consumption level attained by each and everyone will differ. And that difference matters. That is the first hypothesis, that this difference is important, okay? But if this difference is important, then obviously one implication comes very naturally. And what is this implication? This implication is that C by Y, okay, that is our APC, C by Y will depend on how far that person is from this average consumption level, or in this sense, average income. So on how far an individual is from average income. Okay, so you can think of this as a motivational problem, that since I belong in the group, though my income is not really the average income. I try to consume at the level of average consumption. And obviously, then the discrepancy will be higher as we go further and further from the average income. So that's why C by Y, that is APC, will depend on how far an individual is from the average income. And so we can divide this implication in two parts, right? Part one is that if income is below average, then essentially you are struggling to be at par. So if income is below average, then high or higher APC, and if income is above average, then if income is below average, then higher APC, and if income is above average, then lower APC. Okay. So that means given a population characterized by the average income, what is happening? So given a population with certain average income, what will happen? We get the Keynesian structure, that is, in short run, MPC less than APC. Correct? Because you see, if income is higher, lower APC, and if income is lower, then higher APC. So it restores the Keynesian consumption function structure, but in the short run. Why? What will happen in the long run? Now, in the long run, definitely, we are, this is something that we are essentially assuming, but you can think of it as some sort of a natural assumption. The assumption is basically that income is growing along the trend line. It may not. And when it does not, what will happen? We will discuss what will happen then, that if it does not. Okay. But anyways, since we are considering long run, okay, so in long run, this is natural that as income will grow along the trend line. So as income grows along the trend line, what will happen? The population's structure will remain the same in the sense that C by Y will not change. Why? Because relative positions are unchanged. Relative positions are unchanged. So in long run, if I look at the C by Y, then it will appear to be constant. Why? Because everybody, the whole population is growing along the trend line, right? And in long run, that's how we characterize long run. So it's fine. So we get the two results that we are looking for. In short run, MPC is less than APC. And in the long run, C by Y is constant. Okay. So now we'll move on to the second hypothesis. And the second hypothesis, along with it, will show us something called a ratchet effect. Okay. So let's look at the second hypothesis. Okay. The hypothesis is basically this, that it is difficult when income reduces to reduce consumption, and it is easy actually to save and maintain the consumption level. So let's take a deeper look. So what does it say? CT, that is our current consumption, CT is also affected by previous consumption levels. Previous consumption levels. Okay, so that gives us the idea of keeping the consumption level constant. We'll go into that. So CT is also affected by previous consumption levels apart from absolute and relative income. Okay. Okay. So that this is the hypothesis. CT is also affected by previous consumption levels apart from absolute and relative income. And what it implies is what I just said. Implication is once attained consumption is difficult to reduce. Once attained, consumption is difficult to reduce. But if you do not reduce, then what happens is you have to reduce savings. So reduce savings, right? You don't want to curtail consumption, so you have to curtail something. And the only option remains is savings. Okay. Now, we will bring in a simple savings function which obviously satisfies what we just talked about. So S by Y, that's our MPS, is A naught plus A1 into Y by Y hat, where two things must be mentioned. First is A1 is positive, and second thing is this Y hat is peak income. Do not confuse it with the Y hat that we defined earlier. So Y hat is peak income. So our hypothesis said that yes, consumption is related to peak income, a previous income, right? And so I'm not reducing consumption, I'm reducing savings. And all of this together gives rise to this kind of a savings function. Okay. All right. So now, given APS, that is average propensity to save, I can easily find APC. So APC equal to C by Y equal to 1 minus S by Y equal to 1 minus A naught minus A1 into Y hat, sorry, A1 into Y by Y hat. Okay. Now, we have said that income grows along the trend. So if income grows along trend, what is our Y hat? Y hat, that is peak income, is previous period's income. So peak income is previous period's income. Okay. And this allows us to write an expression of y divided by y hat. So what is that expression? That expression is y divided by y hat is basically 1 plus gy. What is gy? Gy is growth rate of income. Growth rate of income. And from this equation, we get an idea of how gy is defined. So gy is defined basically in this way: y minus y hat divided by y hat. Okay, so just let's go at it again. Previous period's income, this is current periods. So obviously this ratio will give me the growth rate of income. Okay, okay. So now from here we see that this is how this relative ratio of current to peak is related to the growth rate of income. Now, given C by Y, can easily calculate C. We'll just multiply Y on the right hand side. So that gives us consumption function to be this, as A1 into Y square divided by peak income. Okay, and this implies that MPC, that is dC dy, is this 1 minus A naught minus 2A1 into Y by Y hat. So this is a result obtained through simple differentiation. Now if you compare the function of APC that we have written earlier and the form of this MPC, we can easily write what we are looking for in the first case. Hence, in short run, MPC is less than APC. Okay? All right. Now we will move on to ratchet effect. Okay? So again, we had this MPC equation, and earlier we had equation of C by Y. Comparing these two, we get the old result. So now we will go into ratchet effect. First, let us draw the diagram. So this is our long run consumption function. Okay. Let us take 2 points, Y naught and the corresponding consumption C naught, and then Y1 and the corresponding consumption C1. And let's just draw two straight lines which will show the short run behavior. Okay, like this, and mark these points as K naught and K1, and these points as A1 and A2. So these lines, they have their own role to play. So this is the trend line. Income grows along this, and so the consumption in the long run. Okay. So interpretation of this straight line through origin is very clear now. So Y grows along trend, and so is consumption. That is implied, this is what is implied by the long run function. Now, consider a recession, or consider that a recession occurs. Okay. So in recession, what will happen? Will consumption, there will be a reduction of income, but reduction of consumption is difficult. So consumption will reduce along this line. Okay, so this is the line along which consumption will reduce. In A1, we have considered a recession. Okay, so this may be written as point of a recession. And also in A2, we have considered the same scenario that another recession occurs. So another point of recession. What we are saying is that when recession occurs, since it is difficult to reduce consumption at par with the reduction of Y, they will move along this line. Okay? And recovery, or I'll say but recovery will again lead to A1 and A2 respectively. So let me write the lines in the middle. So recession occurs, right? Consumption reduces along K0 A1 and K1 A2. Okay. Then, so recession occurs, consumption reduces along K0 A1 or K1 A2. And then in recovery, again it reaches A1 and A2 and then again goes along the trend line of income. Okay. So that is how long run growth or long run growth of income and consumption in recessionary situations are related. This phenomenon, actually, this whole scenario gives us what Ratchet effect is. I'll go at it again. So this is long run consumption function. Income grows along this line. In long run, consumption will follow it. Okay. In recession points or when recession occurs, income reduces along trend line, but consumption cannot. Consumption reduces less. So that's why in recession, consumption, the relationship suddenly between consumption and income, this movement occurs along this line, K0 A1 or K1 A2, okay, whichever you consider. And then when recovery occurs after recession, the consumption again land into A1 and A2 point and then goes along the trend line, okay. Ratchet effect summarizes this whole scenario. Okay. So what does the Ratchet effect says? It says when income decreases, okay, consumption decreases less than than it rises as income grows along the trend line. So going at it again, when income decreases, consumption decreases less than it rises as income grows along the trend line. So when income is growing along this line, consumption is growing along this line. But when income falls in recession, suddenly consumption falls along this line. Okay. So I'm growing in this path, but when recession occurs, I'm coming down following this path. Yes, with recovery, I will land up it again. And so from A1 until I reach A2, I will again follow this path. And if a recession occurs at A2, then I will reduce my consumption following this kind of a path. Okay. So that's what the Dusan-Marey model and ratchet effect are.